guys, welcome back to Creativity and Inspiration. I hope you're all having an amazing day. If you're new, welcome. I'm so happy you found us. And if you keep coming back, thank you so much. You know how much you mean to me. Today, I have a great video for you. It's all about acrylic inks. Some tips and tricks, how you can use them in journals and in art, whether it's on canvas, in a sketchbook, whatever type of art you do. Did you know you can even use acrylic inks if you use a putty or a plaster? But before we do, I want to give you a sneak peek into two upcoming videos. The first one, a couple of videos ago, I had a request for more dog toys. That is going to be our next video, so stay tuned for that, especially if you have little dogs like mine that chew through stuff. Well, one of my dogs does that. If you don't have any dogs at all, that's okay, because I have a video after that. And we are going to take packaging, and yes, this is packaging. I was very, very blessed to be able to buy some new furniture pieces after I sold my home. And this was packing. These are actually pretty heavy. They were around a nightstand I bought. And they're pressed board. I mean, you can see the packaging is pressed board, and you can see that. And what we're going to do is, what do you see when you see this? I see a frame. And the really cool thing about both of these, in the thin pieces of wood on the top ends, I'm calling this the top, you can see there is kind of an indentation where a thin canvas would fit. Now, since this is pressboard, you can create the same indentation on both sides. And they could go either way. I have this one, and then I have this one as well, and you can see they're different sizes. So we are gonna transform these into some really cool frames, kind of works of art themselves. So this will be our video after the dog toy video. So don't worry, if you don't have a dog or a cat, I've got a few cat toy ideas for you as well. So if you don't have a pet and that's not your thing, that's fine, because the next video will be something I'm sure you'll be very interested in. And it doesn't just have to be packaging from furniture. If you get a piece of cardboard, you know, in something that you've ordered, and it's thick enough, you could cut out your own center and create your own frame. And the processes I'm going to use on this would work on that as well. So that's what's coming up. But today, it's all about acrylic inks and some really cool things and tips and tricks. So let's just jump in. Hey guys, now we're outside because I definitely don't want to do inks in my mom's house, which is where I'm staying while our house, my house, is being painted, which is what's going on right now. Excuse the wind chimes. It was dead still, and of course I come out here to film and the wind starts blowing. First, I want to talk about what I brought outside with me to film. Obviously glasses. I brought acrylic inks. And I also brought drawing inks. And the reason I brought both of these is we're going to talk about the properties of each. We're also going to talk a little bit about alcohol inks, though I don't have, I couldn't find them. They're packed somewhere. But just to keep going with what I brought outside, I also brought out a canvas panel and a small canvas. And I got these at Dollar General. I brought some of that paper that I got from Blick last year. I brought a palette, and it's metal. I brought a paintbrush and a paint marker. So I'm going to introduce you first to the acrylic inks I brought out, and of course I'll link them below. This set of 12 was $21 off of Amazon. It's linked below. The brand is Marte, M-A-R-T-E, and you get a white, an orange, a cadmium yellow, a scarlet, a green, sage green, bright green, scarlet, and then you get a teal, cadmium, phthalo blue, a violet, you get yellow ochre, you get burnt umber, and black. And the burnt umber is your brown and the black. So you get a nice set. You can do a lot with these. Acrylic inks are great because they're highly fluid. They're pigment based, which means their color is going to be bright, clear, and just phenomenal. They also dry water resistant with a permanent finish. Similar to acrylic paint, but thinner. Much thinner than acrylic paint. You know, the positives with acrylic paint is you get way more coverage and it's thicker, but inks are more vibrant, and I don't know, sometimes you just want something different, and acrylic inks are a good option. Now, these inks are drawing inks. They're called India ink, and I actually have in these orange, green, black, blue, red, yellow, brown, and purple. So Indian inks are great for if you want to put them in an ink pen, if you want to use them in a stopper or a pipette. India inks are great for that. They are a little different than acrylic inks. Acrylic inks are mixed with or suspended in an acrylic resin or polymer emulsion, where India inks are shellac or another, you know, some base. They're both waterproof, but Indian inks are a little more permanent than acrylic inks because if you put these down, nothing will get these off. If you put acrylic inks down, even though they are dry and they're water resistant, alcohol can pick these up. In other words, lift them off of something. This has a matte finish. The India inks have a matte finish. Acrylic inks have a gloss finish. Now, how can you use these? Well, you can use these with a brush. That's why I brought out the palette and a brush. You can use these with a stopper. You can use these multiple ways. These, again, are mostly used in pens or pipettes, droppers. These are mostly used in pens or pen brushes. Acrylic, there's a wide range, including pearlescent and metallic. As you see, I have a nice set of colors, but mostly there's not a wide range. India ink goes best on paper. Acrylic ink, you can do paper, canvas, painted canvas, wall putty. Say you wanted to paint, you know, create something and build it up with a wall putty or a plaster, you could add acrylic inks to that. And you can paint over acrylic inks as well. India inks are not as versatile. Now, I don't have any alcohol inks, but I'll put a picture up above so you can see acrylic versus alcohol inks. Alcohol inks are dye-based, they dry fast, but they only really work good on porous materials. They're used with droppers or pipettes. There's a lower light fastness, which means they will fade sooner than acrylic inks. They can be manipulated, obviously, with alcohol, and their color is just not as vibrant as some. Okay, now let's get down to using some of this. How can you use them? And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways, and a really cool thing, but it can also be a really kind of pain in the butt thing. So come over here to the grass, and I'm going to put our paper there, and I'm going to kind of prop you up a bit on the canvas, I think. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to get my inks. Now, when you're using acrylic inks, one thing you want to do is pick colors that not only are complementary, that go together, but that if they mix well together. So let's talk about that. Now, blue and yellow obviously look really good together, so I'm gonna get my blue and my yellow, and I'm gonna shake them up and just mix them. So I have my blue and my yellow right there. Now I'm just gonna drop this because that's what I like to do with inks. I like to drop them and kind of have them run around the page. So I'm gonna put my yellow kind of all over. I like to do this with alcohol inks too. And you just kind of swirl your paper around and get them to kind of go different ways, whatever. Okay, so there is my yellow, right? Very pretty, vibrant colors. Okay, now I'm gonna get my blue. Now this is the reason you need to pick colors that go well together, but also have a mix. Oops, I'm getting a mixing, a high factor mixing. Like if they mix, do they make a color? Do they not make a color? And we all know blue and yellow make a color. But why is that important? Well, say you're creating something by dropping and they mix together. Then you get an actual color. It doesn't look muddy. It actually looks really pretty and vibrant. Okay, we mixed the yellow and the blue, and we got some green in there. Here you can see all three. We have the yellow, the green, and the blue. And here we have just the green. It kind of overwhelmed, but you can still see some of the yellow. Now, what if you pick two colors that look good together, say in pillows or something, but when they mix, they're kind of brown or muddied? And that is orange and blue. Now, orange and blue are beautiful. They're some of my favorite colors. But when they mix, they become a really muddied brown. Because, I don't know if you know, blue and orange, let me get some out here. Blue and orange make brown. So when you're doing this with your inks and you're swirling it and you're like, oh, I love orange with blue, I think I'm gonna add some blue. Just make sure you know what your colors mixing together are, because your really pretty artwork can get muddied if your colors, you know, don't mix together well, if they're not if they don't go together well. As you can see, we got like a very muddied brown gray color. Well, that's not what I would want. I wanted bright colors like the orange and the blue. So know what your colors you're mixing and know how to do it, because when you are using the acrylic inks, they do mix together when they're swirling around on paper. Now, I'm gonna put some of the violet in my little paint palette here. And you drop it in just like you do paint there. Okay, and I've got my little brush. And I'm gonna put my palette down here right in front of the camera. I've got my little panel that I got from Dollar General, and I'm just gonna take my ink and brush it on. And you can see how beautiful that purple color, how vibrant. That is a very big strength of acrylic inks, is their vibrancy. They're light fast, they're archival. India inks are also archival, as well as alcohol inks. But look, and I'm getting great coverage with this. Now, you don't get as much ink as you do acrylic paint, and it doesn't go as far. When you're trying to get full coverage, you really do want to use paint, so you get that nice coverage and you don't use up all your ink doing one small panel. But look at that. That is beautiful The color is beautiful. It's just a gorgeous application of acrylic ink. And the good thing is you can wash your brush as long as you do it before it dries. Now, let's get this dry. And it doesn't take it long to dry at all. But once it's fairly dry, I wanted to show you just a paint marker, again from Dollar General. Okay, I got my paint marker, and you can write over it with a paint marker. It's not picking up on the paint marker, as you can tell by how clear the letters are. You can look at the tip. It's got no ink on it. So acrylic ink can be painted over or drawn on with a paint marker as soon as it dries. Also, guys, besides just plain paper and canvas, you can also use the acrylic inks. You can also use the acrylic inks in spackle, plaster, whatever you have, to color it whatever color you would like as well. I recommend using paint because you're going to use less of it, and it's going to add a creamier texture, where because acrylic inks are more fluid, they might make this a little loose, but depending on how much you have to add. If you're just adding a tad, then I would go with the acrylic inks. If you're going to add more, I'd go with acrylic paint. And I did want to show you these bottles up close. Again, they are a nice size. They are 20 milliliters or 7 fluid ounces. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little talk about all the different inks, and especially learned something maybe new about acrylic ink that you didn't know. Again, our next video will be DIY dog toys, and then we'll be transforming the packaging into something amazing as far as frames go. So come back to see that. I'll see you on Wednesday. Take care, guys, and don't forget, if you haven't yet, give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button with that little bell so you don't miss any more great videos. Thank you for being here today, and take care, and thank you for your patience while we are in transition.